In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the router table. On our cutting board, we're going to be putting a round over on the edges and ends of our board. Since we've already looked at the router, I'm not going to pay too much attention into every single individual piece of safety precautions and risks and rules, but I am going to touch upon some of the basic ones to ensure that we are still getting that refresher to make sure we're up to speed and using the tool safely. This here is our cutting board. We've cross-cut and rip-cut to get it to the size that we want, and we've identified that this is the top. With a router table, everything is upside down, so we want to put the top down to ensure that the round over is going to cut from the top to the bottom. You can line that up with where our bit is going to cut and the bearing. Some other different things that we need to set up before we get going is we need to bring our fence and the dust collection over top of the bit. As you can see here, we have this plastic guard that's going to ensure we don't get too close with our hands, even though we're going to be using 2 push sticks. We're going to tighten that down. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the router is set to a correct height. With routers, to get the cleanest and most safest cut, you want to remove material in steps. So for such a small round over, what we need to do is unlock the tool. We need to find the correct height for this bit. As you can see here, we're just hitting the bearing. We're going to rise it up. At that point, we're about halfway through the radius that we're going to put on the edge profile. Going to lock that down. Feel it click. Get that out of the way. The bit is going to spin in this counterclockwise motion. So we need to make sure that when we're feeding our material through, we're pushing it from the right to the left rather than from the right to the left. If we go from the right to the left, the bit is going to grab and want to push the material the opposite direction. So the safest direction is going to be right to left. Now that everything's set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the machine on and we're going to do our first pass on all the edges and ends before we move to the next height. The router's up to speed. Now we can go ahead and we can make our first pass. Okay, that's one. As you can see, I'm slowly approaching the bearing. When I feel I've hit the bearing, very gently pass along over that edge. Same thing with the ends. Find the bearing. Pass it along. You can then turn the machine off. Have a look. As you can see, we've removed just slight amount. So we're going to raise the machine up again. With the machine fully off, we're going to unlock and raise it up. This is a very minor bevel round over, so what you can do is this one may not need too many passes, but we'll find the rest of it, match up the depth, make sure we're not going too deep, and then we'll lock it in place again. going to ensure that we're upside down. Turn the machine back on again. And continue with our second pass. As you can see there, I'm juggling the tool with the push sticks while the machine is on, and I'm not grabbing it, getting my fingers too close. I'm doing everything with the push pads. We turn over, we can see we've got our edge and ends rounded over very nicely, and now we're ready to sand.